I can determine the line of best fit. Okay, so what this is it's going to be a scatter plot, meaning all the points aren't exactly in a line, but we're going to be able to find the line that goes through most of the points, if that makes sense. Yes, we are doing scatter plot. So that's why all of your words today made me laugh. All right, so some steps to determine the equation of a line. The first thing we're going to do, step 1, is draw a line. Draw a line that best fits the data. Can y'all see that? Okay, kind of. Best fits the data. And what that means is some points above the line and some points below. It's very hard to see what that says. And some below the line. All right. After you draw a line with some points, some dots above, some points, some dots below, the next thing we're going to do is to choose, choose 2 points on the line that you drew. This is kind of going back to some algebra skills. I'm going to kind of mix them up. The third one is to find the slope. And how I taught you to find slope is making a little table and finding the change in y, putting it the change in x. Y'all remember doing that? Okay, what was the change in y over the change in x? And then the last thing we're going to do is, where is another color? We are going to plug in a point. And solve for, and we're going to just put B. And I guess there is one more step. Now the last thing we're going to do is rewrite it.
And how would we rewrite it?
I'll show you. Rewrite as...
I just spelled it wrong. Okay.
The equation we're going to use is that y equals mx plus b. It is actually not point slope, but in my opinion, learning so many equations is a little overwhelming. We can use y equals mx plus b for everything instead of learning a new equation. Okay. All right, so here's an example. Given the scatter plot below, determine the line of best fit. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to draw a line through these points with some points above them and some points below them. Okay, I'm gonna try my best. I think if I draw like this, be a little lower. Go. Okay, there's my line of best fit. As you can tell, I have 2 points above it, 2 points below it, one on exactly on the dot. See how this one's exactly on the dot. These two are above the line, and these two are below the line. Is everybody okay with that? Okay, I will say in this kind of math, since it's not exact, your answer may be a little bit different than my answer on the answer keys, but that's okay. All right. All right, the next part is we're going to find 2 points on this line. Not dots that they have, but points on the green line. So, for example, here is a point, 0, 30. That's a point. Even though it's not a dot, it's a point on my line. I'm trying to find points on my line. And then this one, this is also a dot, but it happens to be a point on my line too. So I'm going to use both of those. All right, so my 2 points for my step 2 is going to be 0, 30. So remember, x is 0, y is 30. And then my other one is going to be 20, 15. X is 20, y is 15. How are we doing? Any questions yet? Are we okay? The next thing we're going to do is find our slope. And we do that, I do that anyways, by putting this in a little table format. 0, 30, 20, 15. And I'm going to find the change in y and the change in x. So my y's, from 20 to 15, what happened there? Subtracted. How much? Anybody know?
By 5?
Almost. We subtracted by 15.
Oh, sorry, I thought we were doing the 20 and 15. Sorry.
No, so the change in y's, yeah. All right, and then on my x's, my change in my x's from 0 to 20 is I added 20. So my slope is change in y, so negative 15 over 20. And that fraction can be reduced to negative 3 over 4. So that's my m. That's my slope. Okay. But to write my equation is y equals mx plus b. And I don't have the b value. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to label this was step 2. This was step 3. All right. For step 4, I have y equals mx plus b. Okay. I need to fill in m and I need to fill b with a number, but I don't know what b is. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick one of these points and I'm going to use it as x comma y, and this is my m, and I'm going to plug in everything I know. So I'm going to pick this first point. This is my x and this is my y. You could do either one. It'll always give you the same answer. So my y is going to be 30. How much is my m? My slope? Negative 3 over 4. So I'm going to put that in its spot. Oh, my computer just said goodbye. There it goes. All right, negative 3 over 4. My x is 0. And I don't know what the b value is, so I'm just going to write plus b. All right, so now I'm going to simplify. Negative 3 over 4 times 0 is just 0, so this cancels out. And I get 30 equals b. Everybody okay? Any questions there? All right, so our last step then is to rewrite the equation. And what I mean by that is we're going to put it in y equals mx plus b format. So when I write equations, we always have y equals. We never put in numbers for y. M, we have to put a number in for. So our M is negative 3 over 4. X, we don't put a number in for. And B is 30, so plus 30. So our equation is y equals negative 3 over 4x plus 30. Anybody have any questions on this one? I know there's a lot of steps, but hopefully all these steps we've done before, so it's not all brand new. Does anybody have any questions on this one? No?
Do you always add, so you add the number that you did for, the number 4, the step 4,
Uh-huh.
you add the number for B, right?
Correct, because that's what B is.
So it's gonna be whatever number you put there and then, do the thing, okay.
Yes. All right, let's try number 1 on this page. It says to create a scatter plot. Remember, there are 3 things here, and I need to cross out the one that I don't care about. If it's not on the X and the Y, then I don't need it. So this student one here is extra. I do not need that one. This was hours spent studying and our math score. So if you'll go ahead and start plotting your points. How are we doing with plotting the points? Is everybody good? Okay, so we're going to go through the process again, the 1 through 5 steps. Because the second sentence says, construct the line of best fit and determine the equation. All right, so the first thing we're going to do is draw a straight line through them. Okay, remember, some above, some below. If you can, some right on the middle. I'm going to start at this 40 because it's going to make my life easier. And I have something like this. Is everybody good with my line? Any questions? All right. The next thing I'm going to do is find 2 points.
Does yours have to be exactly the same? Does mine have to be exactly the same as yours? Like, is that...
So on our notes, I would do them the same so that you have the same numbers as mine. On your homework, it's not going to be exact, and that's okay. I know on your tests and homeworks and whatever, it's not going to be exact because you don't know how I draw my line. Okay. On your notes, I want it to be the same because or else we're not going to get the same numbers down here. All right. So can somebody give me 1 point that the line goes through?
0,
0, 40. I like that
and
one.
then 400. Or no, sorry, that one wasn't it. It was 270.
270. Very good. All right, so those are my 2 numbers. I'm going to give you a moment and let you see if you can find the slope. So my slope, I had 0, 40 to 70. The change from 40 to 70 is plus 30.
Oh, I thought it was 4.
The change of 0 to 2 is plus 2. And then you put y over x. So 30 over 2 is 15. Okay.
Okay, that makes it a lot. Yeah, that makes a lot more sense.
All right. Step number 4. Y equals mx plus b. We are solving for the b value. I'm going to pick either one of them. It's always easiest if my point has a 0 in it. So this point with this 0, I'm going to use that one because it has a 0 and it's going to make my life easier. Okay. So I have 40 equals, my m is 15, my x is 0 plus b. And the reason this makes it easy is because 15 times 0 is just 0. So that goes away. And I get 40 equals b. Is everybody okay with step 4?
What about the Z for a second? Oh my gosh.
Oh, the equal sign?
Yeah, my brain is gone.
All right. So we're going to now write it in slope-intercept form. Y equals mx plus b. We always start with y equals. What is our m?
15.
15. So we're going to write 15x. And what's our b?
40.
40. So plus 40. Any questions? I will say if you can do this, you're going already halfway done with algebra. Okay? This is a lot of algebra skills right here. Maybe not halfway done. Probably a fourth, 25% of algebra. This is algebra. Okay?
It's not bad.
I taught this exact problem in algebra. Okay? So that's my hope is that you guys are getting prepared and will feel comfortable when you get into that algebra class. All right, let's go to the next page. This is not algebra. This is geometry. It is a two-way table. So all I'm going to put is I can analyze a two-way table. All right, so what is a two-way table? A two-way table shows the relationship between two variables. So I'm just going to say shows relationship between two variables. All right, so basically this is just like two tables right next to each other or on top of each other. This table below shows the data collected from people in two different cities. So I have Greenfield and Sacramento. And then it also tells us in each city how many of them preferred ice cream and how many preferred vanilla. What did you say?
Oh, it was a very random cities.
Oh, yes, very random cities. Okay, so we just have to be able to read it well. Greenfield, 58 of them wanted chocolate, 60 of them wanted vanilla. How do I know how many altogether were asked in Greenfield?
You add them
But I add them
together.
to the right for Greenfield. All right, what if I wanted to know how many people liked chocolate ice cream altogether?
You would, add 58 and 79.
Good. Add straight up and down. Very good. Okay. So this says, what percent of Greenfield, so I'm looking only at Greenfield, preferred chocolate ice cream? So when I'm doing percents, I'm going to put on top the the true or the answer that I'm looking for. So on top would be how many like chocolate ice cream in Greenfield.
Should be 58.
That would be 58. Over the total number of people in Greenfield. Not the total number who wanted ice cream, but in Greenfield. So on bottom, I'm going to have 58 plus 60.
Is this a lot of fractions in geometry?
Yes, but you use your calculator.
Okay, I like fractions.
Oh,
that's what I
good.
was asking.
All right. So we get 58 over 118. How do so that's a fraction, but this asks what percent. So what do I do? Anybody know?
You divide.
Mm-hmm. You divide. Since I don't think most of us have our calculator, I'll just tell you what that is. We get 0.4915. And then how do I make that into a decimal or a percentage?
You would round. Would you round?
You would turn it into 49, right?
Good. I would move my decimal over 2 times to the right. So I would move this little decimal 1, 2, and the decimal goes then right in the middle of the 9 and the 1, and that makes it a percentage.
Oh, okay, so
Percent.
you put-
Yes, percentages are always out of 100. So when we divide by 100, that's why it's moving to the right 2 times.
Oh, I see. Okay.
All right. Go ahead and do the one to the right. Get the fraction. I know you might not be able to get the percent, but get the fraction.
What did we just? No, we didn't.
Can we use the other problem?
Mhm.
I mean, you could just do the subtraction, but I'll do it properly just because notes.
It's basically the same answer, right?
I think you could just subtract out 100.
All right.
The other answer, but
So Natasha brings up a great point. This question is basically asking what is the leftover percentage who likes vanilla,
Oh, it's
right? So if everybody had to either like ice cream or had to like vanilla,
so you would subtract.
I could subtract 100 from 49 and get the same answer. I'm going to do it the other way just to practice. The total people who like vanilla was 60. The total people all together from Greenfield who were interviewed was 118.
On the test, we're doing some of this, right?
Yes.
Would you take both answers?
Yes. I just want to know how you did it. But probably on the test, I'm not going to have you do both of them. So then you wouldn't really have an option to do that. But if I did on the test, yes. I don't, as long as you mathematically get it to the right answer, you can do totally different ways that I'm teaching, okay? Let's say I taught you something and you're like, that didn't make any sense. So you went home and your parent taught it to you, or you went home and you watched it on YouTube, and you can come to the right answer. Great. That's fine with me. I don't care. As long as you come to the right answer of math, okay? All right, any questions on that second one? No?
whatever that 0.01%, just extra little tiny ones.
That point
Yeah.
0.
It's-
Oh, yeah, it's probably the numbers after it. Yeah.
I rounded mine up. 'Cause
That's
I
fine. I don't mind if you round it up. All right. What percent of people in Sacramento preferred chocolate ice cream? So here we have chocolate is 75 over the total, which is 75 plus 43. So we get 75 over 118. They had the same amount of people. When I put that in my calculator, I get 0.6355.
So that would be 63.55.
Yes. Percent. Perfect. All right, and we'll do this last one how Natasha mentioned. We will just, because we already have this one, we can just subtract. So from 100%, we can subtract 63.55%. But I need to make sure my decimals line up. When we subtract, our decimals have to be aligned. Ooh, it's a lot of borrowing. Just in case you forgot some of your subtraction skills. Remember, we cannot subtract 0 minus 5. We have to make that a 10 by borrowing from the neighbor. 10 minus 5 is 5. 9 minus 5 is 4. 9, 8, 7, 6, 6, 7, 8, 9. 36.45%.
Would that be acceptable on the test? Would that count as showing your work?
Yes,
Okay.
that would. Even if you didn't do all the borrowing because you have a calculator, but you showed me 100 minus 63, I would know where you got that.
Yeah, as long as you know where we got it.
Mm.
Because if we just put it on there, you'd be like, "How?" And then we wouldn't get a grade for it.
Exactly. So this shows me how you got it. Because I can follow like, oh, that would make sense. 100, that's where that 63 comes from. Okay. I usually can follow most people's work pretty well, or at least their train of thought, if they show me their work. Now, if they don't show me any work, it's really hard to follow a train of
Unless they
thought.
have bad handwriting.
Yes, but I've learned to read some pretty bad handwriting along in my years. And my parents are both doctors. Doctors are known for having awful handwriting. They just scribble random stuff, half cursive, half.
So that's what you have to do with my brother. Is he has. My mom says you should be a doctor. You can't spell.
Oh yeah, I can't spell either.
And my grandpa's a doctor. I don't know if he's bad at spelling. But I know that he's not very good at. No, he is good at it.
Oh,
But like whenever he spells, he still has to do like the V and D thing.
Oh, he's dyslexic, probably.
I'm not sure.
Oh
Maybe
yeah, I
he is.
literally failed to spell right.
I'm not dyslexic, but sometimes I still do that.
I cannot spell
Me either.
for the life of me. All right, let's do this last page today.
We always get off topic.
We do. It's okay. All right. And I'm going to let you do some of this. I think you can actually do this whole first section. It says the two-way table below shows data collected from men and women about their favorite sports to watch on television. And what I want you to do is I want you to go ahead and fill in these totals. So this total over here is going to be the total people, the total men that they interviewed. And then the total women that they interviewed. And then we're going to go down for basketball, soccer, and football. So I'll give you a little bit of time. All right, so if you have written the totals, if you want to check on the board and just make sure they're the same as mine. All right. So here, the fact that I got the totals make the rest of this really easy.
Wait, that one was. I have to double.
Perfect.
Okay.
It's okay. We'll go through it fast.
Overachievers.
What percent of men preferred football? So we have to be careful with what it's asking. It's asking men
1%
of men and football. So I'm not looking, here's my football section. I'm not looking at the total.
It's
It's just, ooh, thank you. There you go. I'm just looking at the men with the football, not the total. Okay. So here I'm going to put 55 out of 100. Which, because this is already out of 100, I can just use the 55%. I don't have to make it a decimal.
Are you allowed to, like, if it's 200, are you allowed to divide by 2? Okay.
You
that's
are.
what I did. I was like,
Yep.
oh.
All right. Women prefer soccer. So here's soccer for the women is 30 out of 100.
I'm surprised soccer wasn't the lowest.
Mm-hmm. All right. What percent prefer basketball?
Oh, so
Notice.
you basically just do the same number. I thought we were doing like the number of. Oh wait, that wouldn't be right then. I thought we were doing the numbers like for 55. I thought that we were doing like it would be like 45, and then that would be.
That would be the
equal.
opposite.
Okay.
That would be how many men do not prefer football.
Okay, so just do. Oh, okay, I get it now.
So number 3 says what percent prefers basketball, and since they didn't give me men or women, it means overall.
Okay.
Yeah,
So I'm gonna go to the total of basketball is 90 over the total of people, which is 220. Oh, not 220, 200.
I was like, wait, did I get it wrong?
All right, as Natasha said, you can put this in the calculator and get a decimal, or you can just, because 100 is half of 200, you can just cut 90 in half. So it's 45%. All right, and then lastly, football. What percent total likes football? Would be 70 out of 200. Which is the same thing as 35 out of 100. So 35%. All right, any questions about any of this?